you so much. It's so nice to see so many students. Thank you for coming through. And if you of the older people like myself, one or two, can literally count them. Thank you so much, guys. My name is Kubuzo Mtembu. I volunteer in this organization. I was asked if, apart from my practicing, would like to spend more time with my colleagues. I said, what's a little verbal abuse here and there from your colleagues? So I said, yes. Today is about looking back and also looking to the future. We are celebrating the heritage of architecture, architectural education through Rodney Harber by looking back at what he has done. And also we are celebrating the future yourselves as the future architects. So it will be Kirk White will speak about the exhibition of Rodney, and then afterwards we'll be having awards. When I first met Rodney at his house when I was asked from DUT to go interview him. Um, he's never lectured me directly, but he was always such a part of the university fabric that everybody got so many creeds from him. It was like really your lecturer as well, and he has left us with a very interesting program that we carry out in universities. Sorry, in high schools. We do bursaries universities, but high schools we do be an architect for a day. This is where learners spend a day with us and have lunch with us and do a model. So it's one of these things that is left us with, apart from many, many things that is given us as the profession. So my job is easy, is to just say welcome. And as students, this is your home. As you progress from studying and graduating, you at the moment you come here for events maybe and talks and whatnot, it's going to be much more meaningful once you graduate. Your contracts, your relationship with the client and other professionals and everything is something that we deal with here. So it's something that's very important for you to be to familiar with this with the institute, because that's where you will end up once you graduate. Welcome.
Thanks, Guru. No. Thanks, Guru. Wow, so many students. Whether I should hand out a brief and talk about ending dates. So thanks everyone for coming through. I'm sure most of you know me. I'm Gilo. So this is our second Pieter Zitman Bursary Award, and we've decided to combine it as well with the Rodney Harber exhibition. So the Pieter Zitman Bursary Fund was graciously donated to the Institute by Pieter to help students. And what we decided as an educational committee was to use this fund to help postgrad students, because at the postgrad level, very few bursaries exist. So far in our second year, it's been a great help for students. And we've had our first exhibition last year where the students come here and exhibit their work at the end of the year. And last year was actually quite successful because, again, we combined it with the third year students. And many of those students actually got jobs on those exhibitions, which was a great thing. So for networking, it really provided quite a good opportunity for students. So again, we'd like to welcome you students to the Institute, and we want you to be a part of this Institute. We have many subcommittees which you can join in and contribute and just become a part of the architectural community. This is your space, right? So we have many members here who also share the same thought as us. We invest in students as the future of our cities and spaces. And I hope that one day you'll be standing here as well, giving back to other students. I'd like to introduce you to our sponsors for the lovely catering you see today, which is Modena. I'd like to ask Tammy Pieter to say a few words on that. Thank you.
Well, firstly, thank you, SAIA, KZN, for having us. And I think it's always a privilege to be involved with some of the university, with the students, and looking around at some of Rodney Harber's work. I was an undergrad when Rodney was one of my lecturers. He usually took us for technology and some of design as well. And I remember the very first and very controversial at the time thought that he gave us, and he's like, get used to designing toilets, because it's the one thing you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. I feel like there was a bit of a metaphor in that, but anyway. But oh gosh, my technology issues. Sorry, guys. Okay. So for those who don't know us, we're Moderna. We are industry leads in technology, and a lot of you know us as the software people. Does anybody know more about that than just the software people? I feel like when people say that to us, it's kind of like saying to when architects hear that, your architects should just draw pictures. Okay? But so what very few people know is we actually workflow specialists. We're digital transformation leads. We're coaches. We're trainers. We're modelers. We're reality capture specialists. Don't say that after a glass of wine. We are efficiency consultants and project and organizational BIM managers. We're digital collaboration consultants, and we're digital strategists. We're also implementation specialists, and we're business solutions specialists. It's a bit of a mouthful. But anyway, our people, if you look at the people we employ industry professionals like yourselves. We're not just the little geeks that sit behind the computer and just go, oh, well, this is nice. So currently on our Durban staff, we have a professional architect. We have 4 architectural technologists and 1 engineering technologist. And in terms of our current Modernist staff, as well as our ex-Modernist staff, we've been involved with BIM implementations. We've been BIM managers for some big names. We've even got some guys who are currently the BIM managers and BIM directors in companies such as AECOM, Joburg, Durban, and Europe. We've got light architects we've been involved in, CapEx projects, DHK, Architecture BVN in Brisbane. One of our ex-Durban staff members works there now as the BIM manager. Our recent contribution was to NSYNC Engineers, who we now have one of our BIM managers over there. Spoormaker, we've got DRA Global, Paragon Architects, and that's just to kind of name a few. So when it comes to industry, we're quite saturated in terms of the people who are adopting digital transformation technologies. In terms of collective skills as an organization, we're the second most specialized Autodesk reseller. And that's globally, by the way. Then on Autodesk, we're also Autodesk Platinum Partner in Africa. We're the only Platinum Partner in Africa currently. We've also recently been awarded the Best Autodesk Service Delivery Partner worldwide. And we've also received multiple global awards for our contribution to education, which is why we're here. So the reason I'm telling you that is not to do like a big brag. I mean, we're very proud of our achievements, obviously, but it's just to let you know that when you partner with us, we're people that you can trust. We know this industry. We work with some big names in industry. We enjoy the relationship we have with the people in industry. And we kind of know what we're doing, I think. So when you partner with us, you're in good hands, and you can expect a high level of skill and service, as well as professional input. So where I'm kind of going with this is that because we're so saturated in industry right now, we're obviously very in touch with what's going on in terms of challenges. And this is something we always like to talk to the students about, because when it comes to education right now, there's a lot of brilliant students entering the workplace at the moment. And we spoke about this at the last event that we had as well. The challenge is that a cum laude doesn't buy you a seat in a practice, because when you walk into the practice the first time, the first place you go is behind a computer, software. And more often than not, it's Autodesk software. So can you work the software the way your employers need you to? And this is something that we see a lot, because people say to us, there's just no skills. Like all the greatest skills, we employ these people, we upskill them, we spend loads of money upskilling them, and they get poached by other companies, or they go overseas, or you get the recent trend is the Dubai companies kind of infiltrating our market, which is a little bit of a concern. But everybody who knows what they're doing is already involved elsewhere. And there's this whole like influx of students coming in. And all our clients want to know is, can you use the software the way we need you to? Are you efficient, and can you be consistent in terms of our workflows? So there's a big need right now. And I think this is where we come in, because we are passionate about education. Heather, our director, is incredibly passionate about the education platform. I mean, she's got a world of knowledge in that space, and I think a lot of her hard work has paid off in the relationships that we formed in that space. But it's up to you guys to start taking ownership of the education that your university may or may not be providing in this space. And we're wanting to see universities grow. We're wanting to make sure we've been having conversations with UKZN and DUT about how we can start training and implementing what we've learned. And we want to start supporting the need that our clients have for educated, for software educated professionals. So I'm going to leave it here for the sake of time, because I don't have all that much time to talk. But afterwards, feel free to come and chat to us. And if there's anything that you need to know on the education side, whether you are a lecturer, whether you're a student, or whether you are someone's boss, I guess, you can come and chat to us and hear more what we have to say. All right. But that's us. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tammy. I'm going to introduce Kirk White, who's the curator of the exhibition you see today. But I'm just going to read out his bio first so you know who Kirk is. So Kirk White studied architecture in the late 70s. In 1982, he began his 9-year exile, firstly in Botswana, later in Harare, Zimbabwe. Between 1989 and 1993, he studied B Arts, majoring in history and archaeology through correspondence, and he returned to SA in 1994. After a 12-year practical year, he graduated B.Arch in 1995 and was a candidate architect for Harber, Mason and Partners in 1996. In 1997, he practiced as a single architectural practitioner based in KZN. And in the late 1990s, he worked for the NGO sector at the height of the RDP program, dealing with community halls, low-cost housing, smart builder support programs, and rural colleges. In 2004, he completed his postgrad in town planning studies at UKZN and practiced in low-cost housing in Shackland updating. In 2006, he sat on the MAPA Built Environment Committee. But in 2014 and 2016, he studied at UCT, postgrad in building conservation, and he was a resident at Mozambique between 2018 and 2021. As of 2022, Kirk is semi-retired, researching, documenting the modern movement in countries of Southern Africa. Kirk, that's quite a history. So Kirk has very thoughtfully curated the exhibition that you see displayed here today, and I'll let him give you more insight on that.
Hi, Villa. Thank you very much. Sorry, is this working?
Yeah.
Okay. Some of us have technological issues. My printer collapsed a week ago, and I've had my IT guy running around saying, no, hang on, I've got a better deal. So that's my speech for today. Whilst the better deal is still going to happen. I met Rodney 50 years ago. I was sitting and thinking about this speech. I didn't realize that. I was a school leaver, and he ran the interview at the University for Architecture. And I met this guy in a baggy, oversized jersey sort of running around, and he was the guy who did the interview. And I think over the 50 years, not much has changed with the baggy, oversized clothes. So the only thing that sort of changed is that he became a little bit of a chiscop because he lost his hair and became bald. But for the rest of it, he was the same guy. But and I've known him that way. But I think his significance is because he was just socially progressive, and particularly at a very difficult time in South Africa's history, where he always cared for other people. And I think that is what made him the magnet for so many of us in such a diverse number of ways. by contrast, I met, in inverted commas, Pieter Zitman a month ago. That was in the chat group of WhatsApp, which was established with the passing of Rodney. So Pieter and I have spoken on WhatsApp, and that's my contact with the very generous founder of this particular award. I think it's a personal endowment which he's given. Pieter lives obviously the presentation will come because he's the main person that this occasion is about for giving the awards. I'm sure Velo will be introducing Pieter, but so I thought I would be coming after Pieter. So in a sense, I think this award of his is a very noble gesture. I think that's all I'm going to say about that. The gesture is one of looking at financial support for architectural students. I didn't realize it was only for postgrad, so Velo has sort of helped me in my limited knowledge of the award. But I think what Pieter has, in just sort of being very generous and giving this noble award, he's actually highlighted a structural weakness in our educational system, and that is the support, the financial support. Particularly for architectural students. I think this award it's in its second year, so I think it needs to evolve a lot, and I think we need to have a far more intensive conversation about it. Rodney mentioned it last year when he was establishing it with Pieter. I made a comment which then Rodney ignored, so I'm going to bring it up now. He's not here to respond, and I said, well, who are these guys, the students who you're giving the award to? How do you bring them into this process? And I think that is part of the sort of the missing, one of the missing dimensions. The dialogue obviously has to be a lot broader, but, a pot needs three legs, and the university's there, the profession's there, but I think the students, and particularly the recipients of the award, need to be included in this process for it to grow. So possibly that is being addressed. I mean, I wouldn't know. So I think I've spoken a little bit about the link between Pieter and Rodney. I think Pieter had studied under Rodney, and recently Pieter said, look, I want to give this endowment. So Rodney was actually the initiator at the university. So although he's no longer here and we're celebrating his work with the exhibition, which I'm now going to talk about, he was also instrumental in establishing, and it's one of the dimensions for why I'm saying he was significant, because he was socially progressive. It was in establishing this award. I was asked to curate this exhibition. I didn't want it, but I accepted because I've known Rodney for such a long time. I was a student. I was a candidate architect for him. I then left the profession, and we competed against each other on tenders. Some I won, some he won. And in the end, when he became very frail, we collaborated a lot. So in a sense, I think that's why I was asked to curate this exhibition. My biggest problem in starting it was he had done so much work. I mean, how do you actually make sense of it? That was actually my prime problem. So what you see up here on the walls is it's not even scratching the surface of what he's done. And he was also an awful archivist. He didn't keep records. He was only interested in what was going on. Once something was done, it was over and behind. He wanted to move forward. So, yeah, no, it didn't have a value. So, yeah, it's really, I mean, for a guy who, I'll come to the exhibition, but those sketches here in the passage, those for him were just things he did, that they weren't precious. particularly as students, we do drawings and like, don't touch that. That's my drawing. And it's the last thing that he cared about at all. You wrap it up and put your sandwiches in it or something. So he had this huge range of work, but they were all bits and pieces and it was chaotic. So I think what I've tried to do is for me, the issue was to make a selection. It was not to analyze his work. So what you're going to see here is maybe just a taster for other people to pick up what he did and to make sense of it, because it's so rooted in this province. I don't know if the students, I think you guys are more global in your orientation, but we talk about Hassan Fathi and Laurie Baker and all of these guys internationally. We had a guy like this right here who's now gone. So we need to actually pick that up, and that's what I'm hoping this exhibition actually triggers. To talk about the actual exhibition, there are 4 parts in the display. And there's also a 16-page catalogue, which is somewhere around here. It is for sale. I'll talk about that at the end. But the catalogue is I think part of what I tried to do in the catalogue is to have a little bit of a commentary of what the heck is all these pictures in this group, that group, that group. So in a sense, it's a kind of guide. So to try and read the two together, I think will be a much more useful experience than just looking at stuff up on the wall. We have the photograph of him here standing in Shepstone Building for the students at the University of KZN. They will, that picture will resonate with them, So I've tried to get these little cues and these little images which demonstrate a broader sort of side to him. So there are 4 parts to this exhibition. The first part is what I call the sketches, which are in the passage. And he had, I'd say dozens, I'm not going to say hundreds, that would be an exaggeration. He had dozens of sketchbooks where you guys take a cell phone and you take a snapshot. He would sketch things, and he'd do them in 20 minutes or 10 minutes. And he had a person he saw at a party, the way they were drinking in a funny way, or, he liked drawing machines. So there'd be this whacked out machine with broken bits of steel and pipes, and he'd draw this. So those things are all up there. He was a compulsive sketcher, and I didn't know that about him. I'm not particularly good at sketching. I really like drafting, but he never stopped drawing. When he'd go to Kinshasa, he would draw the cityscape of Kinshasa. I don't know. I think when you go on these sort of educational trips, they're high-powered. So I don't know how he found the time to do that. So there are the sketches, which are just put up in the passage, and that's it. Sketches are done. The second aspect was the teacher, and that's up on the walls over there. For me, it was very difficult on how do you display the intangible, because that's actually what education is about. So I've tried I think I wanted to pick up on keywords and trends, because he was very consistent. So that's, I hope, when you look at that wall of what the guy did as a teacher, as an academic, as a researcher, chaotic researcher, and as an academic, I put it up there, and it needs to be unpacked. The part that I'm most interested in particularly is the bit behind me, and I hope maybe after the video and whatever, particularly in this corner, that the screens could be moved. I don't know, that will be Kiara's decision. But there were the early days. He graduated in 65, although we have a record of one of his drawings behind there in 61. So I don't know what year he was a student. So he really started in the middle of his career as a student, and carried on until last month. So the early days was when he started off, and I call that his face, brick and tile period. He then, in 1982, he went into a partnership with the new style partnership of Harber, Massel and Associates. And then things switched. So I'm very interested in looking at one section, which is what I call the early days, for want of a better word. And there's hardly a record of any of that. He threw all of that out, and he moved on in 1982 into a different phase of his life. I don't know why. So there were the brickwork and tile. It wasn't only face brick. You can see some of it here. The client base then were mainly those in Durban in artistic and the theatre. The circles. And then in 1982, he seemed to change and lose interest and shift. And that's then what I call the African Expressionism, which is a phase which carried on right until the end. I think there was continuity and consistency in his work from that 1982 period. And that's all in that room. And I call that his blockwork and gumples period, because that was a continuing motive in his work. It was to really, like a little bit in Art Povera, he kind of didn't have brickwork and tiles, which are special, expensive materials and which are enduring. He was more interested in getting the junk and the rubbish and putting them together and creating something useful out of it. So he created this idiom in a very, I mean, what I'm saying here, his client base then were government departments who just tendered it out and left him to do it, or sometimes blocked him from doing it. And they were rural communities and people in the shackland. So he made this big jump. I think there's this divide in his client base. So I found all of this very interesting in the last 3 weeks in putting this exhibition together, was in formalizing this kind of hybrid transformation. That's all I want to say. I'm hoping this arouses your interest. I don't know if it can achieve much more. All I want to say is that, in closing, is that this exhibition will be open during office hours until the end of the month, until the 30th of April. So anybody is free to come, and to come for 30 seconds or to come for 1 hour. Tell your friends about it. I have mentioned, and I think you'll need to talk to Chiara, that there is that catalogue. It's a 16-page catalogue with all of these images. Okay, it's this A5. So the images are all encapsulated here, and they are all reductions. One page shows the images in a certain section, and the other page shows the text with a slight explanation, a 30, 40, 50 word explanation. You don't have to read too much. That the price for that for members of the profession will be 50 Rand, but I think if any of you have cash, because I know you all use electronic wallets these days, you can get 2 for the price of 1 this evening only. So, but we need the cash. Nothing on credit. Thank you very much.
Good. Thanks a lot for that. I think that really opens up the exhibition so we understand how to look at it as well. So I'd like to introduce Pieter as well, who's going to say a few words, but let me just give you a background about Pieter. So Pieter was born in Durban and began his architectural studies under Rodney Harber before completing his qualification in London. He is an affordable housing expert, delivering over 2,000 homes and consulting to the UK government and the Mayor of London. He also has delivered educational and healthcare projects, working with architects like Daniel Libeskind and Zaha Hadid. As an architect, he has worked on a range of schemes, including residential, educational, and commercial developments, renovating the British Pavilion and the Venice Piano, and detailed design of the ex-Beatles manager George Martin's air recording studios. His projects have received 4 REBA, 5 Evening Standard Awards, and Royal Fine Arts Commission Trust Awards. Pieter, I'd like to hand it over to you to say a few words.
Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody for inviting me to be a part of this. I particularly want to say thank you to Skura, Ntamba, Ruben Reddy, Kevin Bingham, and of course Chiara for putting this all together and making it happen. And thank you to the previous speakers for your kind words on this award and these awards. It really happened. The money for these awards really started a couple of generations ago. My grandmother and my mother both worked at the university, and I had to leave similarly to Kirk. I ended up a refugee in London as I didn't want to support the apartheid regime, and that came with quite serious consequences. The result was that I was denied the opportunity to help rebuild South Africa. And when my mother finally passed away and left me some money, I didn't know what to do with this. And I struggled to think about how I could keep the money in South Africa and do something unique with this. And so that's how the idea of granting the money to the South African Institute of Architects, knowing full well they would know best what to do with the money and how to support students. That's not something I could do from London. That's not within my ability. And I think you guys have done a really good job of it. When I left South Africa, we knew that there was a huge mountain to climb to overcome apartheid and the effects of it. But we never really realized just the task that you students will have in overcoming the ongoing issues that are still to be addressed by South Africa. And on top of that, you've got huge climate change issues to deal with. And that's a huge burden to carry. But I think with providing these sorts of grants, I think it will put you in a better position to do so. I don't really want to talk too much more about it because this is really about you students. I think you're going to have a great year ahead. Enjoy it. As Rodney taught me, apart from all the technical information, was also be myself. And I think that's a good lesson to be learned as an architecture student. Express yourself and be yourself. There's a lot to do, but enjoy it. Enjoy your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Pieter. I hope we can get to see you soon for the exhibition at the end of the year, and you can come down to join us.
Yes, well, I'm due to be in South Africa in November, so I'm hoping to pop around and see what I can, if I can be a part of it.
Perfect. Thank you again. I think we'll do the handing out of the awards. Adima will take over.
Thanks, Philo. So unlike the previous speakers, I don't have a piece of paper typed or handwritten, but we'll just wing it. So thank you everybody for coming out, and it's so nice to see so many students, particularly students of mine. So please just be on your best behavior. Don't embarrass me. No, I'm really good at doing that myself. Yeah, so it's a thrill. Thanks. I think that we've spoken before, and I'm just going to say it very briefly because the previous speakers mentioned it about the value of coming into a space like this. And it's really funny to hear Kirk's story about coming in. And so I get the sense that that's really how the Institute has functioned, is that they've stolen students and then just kept us here for as long as possible, because that's all of our stories. So we hope that we can do the same, but just for more of you, so that we're not standing out here on our own, and instead maybe in a couple of years, I'll be the bald one, hey Skura, and you'll be the grey one, and we'll be looking at some of you on the stage. No, Asian, black don't crack. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything else about that other than it's really terrific for me to see all of you here as much as I can without my glasses on, from students from UKZN and DUT. It's a thrill to welcome you back, and I really hope that this sets the precedent for you to feel like the Institute can be your home. And I know that that feels very difficult when you look at a building like this, but when you look at the work of Rodney Harber that Kirk has so conscientiously put together for this evening, it kind of sets the narrative that sometimes our history and our heritage is uncomfortable and we have to sit with that. And if you want to have those conversations, the lovely Russell Klongwane is here. And I think he's your man, even though he's looking into a corner. But I think it would be fantastic for you all to be with us for a lot longer. And Pieter Zitman, thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this and to keep the students in our clutches. I mean, keep them in our good graces without making any of you any more uncomfortable. We're going to go on to the order of the evening, which is, of course, welcoming and congratulating all of the recipients of the Pieter Zitman Bursary for 2024. And I'm going to call Skura and Vilo. Just Skura? Okay. Vilo's tired of the limelight, so just Skura to join me in calling you all up. So in no particular order, if we could maybe just give a round of applause to the wonderful recipients who are going to be joining us. And if you can just pause for a photo up with Skura. So maybe Vilo, you should join them. I don't need to be in photographs. Yeah. We'll have Vilo join Skura and you all in photographs this evening. It's not my good side. So yes, okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So if we could please have Bulelwa Balfour. Hi. That's work. Okay. Mashudu Malekate. Sorry, you can butcher your name. Yeah. Nikara Ramdeen. Priola Naidu. Prashala Naidu. Yolanda Mpanza. No. Hana Potliru. Courtney Adams. Sahil Singh. And last but not least, Tino Mukumbareza. Okay, sorry, Yolanda, the reason why we couldn't give you a yellow bag was because we do have some golden bags for some very golden stellar people this evening. If I could please call up Perk White. You don't have to say any more, I promise. Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody, you're aware of the process now. Thank you, Kirk. Susanna White. Order Hart. Okay, then. Thank you very much. Thank you. Here. Everybody's favorite librarian, Dr. Michelle Jacobs. Yeah. And last but not least, Lusanda Chemane. Thank you, everybody. Well done. Thank you, Skura. I'm going to hand over to Vilo to wrap us up.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Adima. Thanks, everyone. So I just want to thank again Pieter for being a gracious donor for this event and sponsoring us this bursaries for our students. It's going to go a long way in helping students as well. I'd like to thank DDK for sponsoring the printing for the exhibition. Kirk, Michelle, Lucinda for helping put this together. Medina as well, our sponsor for the catering. Thank you also for coming together to talk to our students. I think we can build a great relationship going forward. Yeah, and thank you to the students for joining us at this exhibition. I hope this work can inspire you, and I hope you realize that the space can open doors for networking and also making your mark on the built environment. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Thank you. Yes. Oh, yeah. Can we ask the recipients who did come through to take a picture with our president? Thank you.
Yes,